Friends, if you're looking for real old school laughs, you're in for a treat because we've got them right here. Flip City Magazine. Remember Mad Magazine? Then it went woke? Well, don't worry. Flip City has no chance of going woke. That's right. 4 times a year, you'll get an actual printed magazine full of jokes, stories, comics, and more, all about today's pop culture, entertainment, and woke politics. Flip City takes terrible entertainment trends we love to hate with hilarious parodies of Lord of the Rings, Stranger Things, The Walking Dead, Star Trek, Hunters, and more. Trust me when I say there is nothing else like Flip City on the market. So subscribe today. It will be delivered in print, or you can even get it digitally if you're one of those wacky Zoomers. Either way, follow our link and sign up today, and if you put in midnight, you get an extra 10% off. Check out Flip City Magazine today. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, whatever it is, where you is. Welcome to Midnight's Edge After Dark. I'm Tom Connors. We have with us CC Karaoke back again. How you been?
I've been all right. Been without the internet for a week in the middle of nowhere. I just got
Sounds
back,
nice.
parked at a Walmart, and I have no idea what I missed. But I guess I
That
didn't
doesn't
miss
sound
much.
so nice, but yeah.
Well, it was
back.
a fantastic place. Totally
Glad
worth
to
it.
have you back. Also joining us, Script Doctor. How you doing?
Doing well. Been a busy day, but had a fun show on my channel earlier. I hope you guys all checked it out, or if you haven't, do so after tonight's show. It's a lot of fun to talk about cool things happening as opposed to the depressing things happening.
Right. Well, that's what this show's for.
Oh, we make light of it. That's how it works.
Well, we'll see how that goes. Also, we have the one, the only Clobbering Times. How you doing?
Hey, what's up, man? All right. Well, how y'all doing tonight? Good to see y'all.
Hanging in there, doing the best we can.
Hey,
we
chat.
have a great chat, it looks like. We have Nick Weiser, I think, coming in here in a little bit. We never know who else may show up. I was hoping Mikey would be here today, but I miss Mikey.
Still working hours where he is right now. It's like
technically, sort of, kind of,
Yeah.
but he was on that morning show this morning, and he does that shit to me all the time.
But that was before working hours too, because
here's the
he's
best
out on
part.
the West Coast, right? That was before 6 or 7
know.
a.m.
But I can start giving him shit here sooner or later.
LA doesn't start until like 11 a.m. at the earliest.
But yes, let's say hello to who we got in the chat here. We got Fresh Snow, we got Cryan, we got Davina Duckworth. Hello, Duck Nation, Max Mercer. I see Nicholas Horton here, Manny Dragon. We got D-Bud Martin in the chat as well. We got Al Bundy. Let's see who else we got here. We got Mars Needs Max. Okay. We got Scott Hughes. We got Tiger Valley 62. We have FKHC 2005 and many, many more. Hit that like button. Share out the link. Let everybody know that we're live. McFly says, go Ninja, go Ninja, go. I can get behind that. That's right. And another individual who can get behind that is the one, the only, Nick Weiser, even though there's 32 flavors of him. That's right. But tonight we're not talking about Secret of the Ooze. Nope. You want to clue everybody in what we're talking about tonight, Nick?
Oh, the 100th episode of Toxic Tuesday on the very first ever TMNT movie.
I like turtles.
I mean, only one of the greatest movies of all time, like in the history of ever.
Yeah.
How you doing, chat?
I'm such a nerd that I noticed that the thumb is a picture from part 2.
It is. No, it is.
I called him out on that too on Twitter.
Script did address that. And, when I was making the thumbnail for it, because the thing is, I was going through shots in the first movie, and there's none that I liked enough that I was just like,
hit me up, bro.
And if you got something that can convince me, otherwise I was just like, I'm gonna stick with this, and I just decided to go with it. I was too far in, and like I said, the shots that I had I didn't like, so I'm like, you know what, I'm just gonna stick with this one because this one I liked better. So, yeah.
That's fair. When in doubt, just go with the original poster. Because them coming out of the sewers just looks good in and of itself. But
I couldn't find a good shot of that was sideways. I mean, if you got one, I will gladly change it.
I got a couple of them.
Yeah, please send it my way. DM it to me, and I will gladly work around it.
Otherwise, I've got some other stuff too. I've got stuff I got to scan yet too, but I stumble upon them all the time, different pictures.
Mm-hmm.
And like this is one that I've seen versions of this one, but I've never seen the full one until recently. This is actually one of the first pictures I ever saw of the movie. And I thought that was Shredder. I didn't know, because I didn't know who the hell Tatsu was.
Oh, like, yeah, I remember thinking, hold on, that's not Shredder, is that? But no, obviously it's not. But man, dude. Oh yeah, obviously. But dude, I love how still to this day how the foot looks. They look awesome. Seriously. What a great the fact that they just use regular suits and everyone, the characters still all look awesome to this day. Splinter looks awesome. Shredder looks great. Like, I love it. But we'll more on that later, because if we're
I mean, you even got like this image, which is great.
Yeah, see, I thought about that image and I wasn't sure on that one, and I was just trying to show off the Toidles.
Here's some ones I had never seen before until recently.
Oh, that's
I've never seen before. That is
never
nice.
seen these.
Yeah, I like it.
Anyway, we're going to talk about that in a couple hours. But right now, we had a Godzilla trailer, an Exorcist trailer. So we're going to talk about those. We may talk a little bit about the strike and how things have affected Warner Brothers thus far, at least according to Zaslav.
Mm-hmm.
And who knows what else will come up during the course of the show. But for now, hit the like button, share out the show link, and let everybody know we're live. Yes, we got some TURTLE power coming up later. That's right. I see Snowdub in the house. I listened to part of your video earlier, and I was like, I'm wondering if you were inspired by Go Ninja Go. I couldn't remember if you said something about that before, but I could feel it in that song. But yeah, of course I'd heard the song before, but yeah. But anyhow, so who watched the Godzilla trailer?
Not yet. I was meaning to watch it, but I've been busy all day. I do want to see it. I hear it looks great.
I wonder if we'll get copyright claimed for it. I know we will the other one we want to talk about, because that's Universal.
I mean, Godzilla is the one worth watching.
Probably.
Right. Yeah. There's actually the only reason I really even thought about talking about the Exorcist trailer was the reason I brought up the script before the bit. Is this the right one?
I saw the Exorcist trailer when I saw the Equalizer. It did not look pleasing to me at all. I saw the trailer and I'm like, man, this is look. I remember watching the theater thinking, wow, this looks like The Exorcist. And then, surely enough, it was a sequel. I'm like, oh, here we go.
I think this is it. I think if you turn the closed caption, what? Is this the one with the subtitles?
Closed captioning, yeah.
There's one that has subtitles. I know that, so I want him to get the right one. But okay, yeah. Wonder who that could be.
Godzilla. Godzilla. -1.
Yeah.
I'm sold. I'm looking forward to seeing. I'll see it. I'll make sure I see it opening night even too.
So is this like the original Godzilla where it takes place 10 years after the bomb, or are they making it closer together?
Looks like it.
It looks like it's a remake of the original film, more or less. Yeah.
'Cause I love
Yeah.
the original. a lot.
No Raymond Burr, but
Oh my god, the cock.
What?
That was the wrong button.
Oh no, it
Why do you
wasn't.
have that as a button?
That's for culture. See, Nick gets it.
Oh, I'm like, that was a mistake.
It was, but it wasn't.
Oh my god, the cock.
That's what somebody would say looking up, though, I guess.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
you're not, as culture would say, you're not wrong.
No, I'm looking forward to this. It looks like it'll be fun. It looks like it's a more serious remake of the original film. So,
Yeah. And were they using the original sound file for that one?
I
'Cause
don't know.
that's like that very delicate, and it's in like a preservation museum somewhere, right?
because I'm pretty sure this is
Sounds
the
like it.
original roar. I have it, but yeah. That's just a recording I think somebody made off the movie.
Yeah, because like there's a clean one without the explosions or anything behind it. But yeah, that's I know they have the original recording was almost lost, and then someone found it, and then they preserved it, and
It's a violin scratching mixed with like a lion roar, mixed with like jaguar howl or whatever, something like that. I can't remember exactly, but like or gorilla, something like that. I can't remember now, but I'd have to look. But the main part that you hear though, the whine, that's the cello being scratched or whatever.
Mhm.
Like
well, it's like stretched and scratched or something like that.
whatever it is, and then the low rumble is whatever, like the lion roar, whatever they stole from that, and
this will.
it's actually like a mix of like 3 or 4 things.
Yeah. I'm wondering if there will be a Raymond Burr type character.
Yeah,
He
named
was
Steve
added
Martin.
later.
Yeah,
Mr. Steve Martin.
well, maybe in the American version there will be. No, I'm just kidding.
Really? It was added to the American version in 1954.
It would be interesting if they do have an American reporter over there or something. Yeah.
So, yeah. Since and that became his most famous client. A lot of people don't realize this. Godzilla became his most famous client, so that's when he went into the business and changed his name to Perry Mason. Started defending people.
Well, it wasn't Godzilla's fault,
No,
I hope, no, don't get me wrong. I am actually curious about this, and it does look good. I just hope it really emphasizes on the monster. I don't, not another movie about the humans and the humans.
that's
and
probably what
their-
you're looking at. Sorry, buddy.
No, you might be right. It's just, I want a Godzilla movie. Like, that's my only minor issue that obviously we don't know if it is an issue yet, but it seems like that's become a lot more of a thing with these movies. Like it's like they don't think they don't know how to write around the monster first. They write around the humans first and the monster second. So you could still do a less is more story where you show them, but at least show the impact of the creature and have it, or even another creature to deal with. But bro,
Well,
I don't care about humans.
This is about, just like Shin Godzilla and others, it's about the impact on humans and the world of Godzilla, which is all great in theory and all, and people have really praised it artistically, but when you're a kid, you just want to see monsters.
I think we're going to see some monsters, but no, this is not, from what I'm gathering, from what I've read, all that business, this is going to be more of a straightforward, serious take on Godzilla in the vein of the original film.
Mm-hmm.
I'm imagining if you watch that original Raymond Burr film, it's a lot darker than you might think, because most people are used to the goofy stuff that Godzilla kind of became, and then it kind of went back to more serious. But like the original Godzilla was more deathly serious, because like the whole point of it was the whole background and the analogy of the bomb and all that kind of stuff. So yeah.
Not a kiddie monster movie like we grew up.
No. And the American version actually added a little, I wouldn't say camp, but it added a little bit more levity and pulled back on some of the other elements like they don't talk about so much that they do in the Japanese version. And I think this one is more specifically like, especially like, the whole idea of, the bomb took them to 0. And now Godzilla hitting them after the bomb is taking them -1 kind of thing. Like that whole thing of, them being kicked when they're down. But it almost has like this feeling of karma to it. It's a weird it's a little bit different take than the first film, but it's in the same vein. I don't know how to explain it, but I'll be interested to see what they do with it. Cause I loved Shin Godzilla as well, which was a serious but satirical look at Godzilla. But instead of it being more of an analogy for the bomb back then, it was more of a analogy for Fukushima and the meltdown and how it was handled than anything. See, that one was one that was more about how the humans were handling the situation. This one, I think they're going to lean more into the monster movie version of it, but it's going to be more like the first movie, I think.
Yeah, I mean, the first one did talk about the difficulties of like evacuations and economic relief and strife, and that was one of the points of contention within the characters. But because they're like, why is this thing happening to us? What's going to happen? Or what do we do? Yeah, the original one was way more serious, but yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I've got like 30 Godzilla films in my collection. I got to go back and start rewatching some of them now.
I've got them all as far as I know.
Huge collection.
If I'm missing any, it's like 1 or 2 maybe.
Yeah.
But I mean, I even have bootlegs.
Oh,
For
cool.
instance, like I have, because they've never released the American version. Speaking of, this is the true sequel. Whoa.
Oh, Klobby dropped.
We lost Klobby.
He'll be back.
Because I'm surprised. Yeah, I was going to say he'll want to see this because.
Oh yeah.
This is technically the actual sequel to the original movie because it has Raymond Burr in the American version, and this is the movie I grew up on. This was the Godzilla when I was a kid that came out. And I saw
the
this
1985 Godzilla.
Yeah, I saw this on video, sitting on the video shelf. I'm like, I gotta see that shit.
Nice Rocky shirt.
Oh, thank you.
I was just watching the scene when they're the turtles were chatting and doing their voice impressions.
Hey, yo, maybe I'll fight Apollo. Maybe I won't. What do you think? Yeah, Adrian.
Oh, such a great
Hey, I got one more for you. Oh, no, not Cagney. Ooh, you dirty rat. Ooh, you killed my brother. You dirty rat. I bet that's Splinter's favorite. Huh?
It's a joke.
Huh?
Yeah.
Speaking of which, we should get going. Oh, balls.
Oh, turtles.
I'm still big. We keep going. I'll do the whole goddamn movie.
I'm not even stopping you. I'm just
depends on how fast you can stock your pizza.
Well, speaking of which, I'm getting hungry now.
I know, me too.
You should.
Well, I had a piece of pizza real quick in between here, but yeah, I need some real dinner.
Everyone should get pizza tonight. Every single person should, whether it's a frozen pizza, delivery, everyone should have pizza tonight. Just saying.
I actually have a pizza I can make.
Ooh,
it'll take me 30 minutes to make it though, because it's like dough and cheese, the whole, the real stuff.
Well, we're gonna we're gonna have a little time, I think, between this show and the other one, but we'll see here because I gotta go down to the store either way. So yeah, the other trailer was The Exorcist, and I'm not gonna show this whole trailer because it's Universal and they love to claim shit.
Mm-hmm.
Bit that stuck out to me, and it even gets mentioned kind of twice in the trailer. So I'm wondering something about this.
Are you looking for Reagan?
Are you looking for Reagan? She burns in hell!
So if you caught what she said there, are you looking for Reagan? Are you looking for Reagan? She burns in hell. Okay, then there's another bit in the trailer too where they say she's waiting for you in hell. So did they kill Reagan off in between the movies?
That's stupid. Or is it just a lie where maybe
that's what I'm wondering too, but yeah.
Maybe they're estranged and she doesn't know if she's dead or not. And so the
maybe
the demon is negging her.
You could be right because I thought the same thing, but at the same time I thought about what Linda Blair said, and that was she never even got a phone call. She's not in the movies. There was that little rumor permeating that she might pop up in the sequel, but
that she'd like to do it, but no one's contacted her. That type of stuff. Yeah.
So I don't know if she's just saying that or if that's true. And if that's true, if that's what they did to that character, oh my God, is that going to piss the fans off? Holy shit.
Yeah. However, if it is if it's a bait and switch in regards to we want to make the fans think that she's dead and then just set up her return,
maybe,
and
but
another
it's
one that
still
would blow a lot of people's mind. But I don't know if they're clever enough to do that.
no. From what I've been hearing about the test screenings from this movie and the fact that they shot the two movies together or whatever, I doubt it. And then of course you also get the hook in the trailer for those who didn't check it out. I don't know if you did or not, but basically you can the whole hook is that the demon says you can save one, but one has to die to be able to save the other or whatever, because they're now sunk up. And we kind of got that from the first trailer anyway, which the whole thing sounds just kind of stupid. Oh, we got Jane in the chat. How you doing, Jane?
Hey, Jane.
Hey there. So yeah, I don't know if the rest of you guys watched the trailer or not. I mean, I've been hearing nothing but bad shit about it, so
I watched it right before we started, and I don't know. It looks like they're leaning into blowing their load again. So it does for me. It just doesn't do it for me. It's just we're gonna spend an hour and a half, 2 hours watching kids scream and be evil. I much prefer they took like they took the more kind of low key approach where you don't know if the kid is okay or not. You don't know if they're possessed. You know, if they really like spend time on that, it's like that you can't trust anybody kind of thing. You know, lean into the social and the mind. And the like, there's a couple scenes there at the beginning where they're really like kids in the car and they're at school and it's just like day-to-day life, the kind of monotony of the regular, and then having the demonic possession kind of sneak into that, I think would be a lot more frightening than just having some kid in a bunch of makeup screaming on a bed for a couple hours, you know?
Mm-hmm. Clobby, it sounded like you were going to say something there.
No, just I haven't seen that.
Oh, you didn't watch that one? Yeah. I'm not surprised. It's not quite your cup of tea, I don't think. So
yeah, I would have watched it though. Oops.
Yeah. Well, we got some new members, or at least one. We got Gojira Star for 5477, who's a new member. Thank you so much. And Tyler Rees has been a member for 2 months. Thank you so very much for that. We appreciate it. So yeah, Lord knows we're probably going to get demonetized now because that just a clip we showed probably from the Exorcist. Wow. Yeah, Universal they're jerks about that shit. Like, I'm not so sure about Toho. They probably will be too, actually. But that is a kick-ass trailer. So
the clock's ticking on that. But you're right. The Godzilla trailer looks really good.
Yeah. But speaking of clocks ticking, Hollywood has been on strike now, basically, because the actors and the writers are going on what
127 days.
20-some days now. Yeah, Jesus Christ. Longest in history, isn't it?
Nope. 158 is the number to beat. That's from 1988.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was going to say, because the 88 one was the one I remember was one of the worst.
Yeah.
Yeah, Warner Brothers has taken a hit. According to Zaslav, they're looking at a $300 to $500 million loss in their third quarter earnings because of, in their opinion, or at least what Zaslav's putting out there, because of the strike. But I can tell you there's one big fat reason why.
Hold on.
Well, one big flash reason, really.
Flash reason.
Yeah, that's one. Wasn't it a few weeks ago they were saying that they were saving money because of the strikes?
Which I already told everyone is BS.
Yeah, clearly you were right.
Well, the way that Hollywood works is that if you're not making anything, you're losing money. And if you're buying something from someone else that's making something to put on your distribution networks, you're losing even more money because you're not buying at cost. You're not buying at a deal. You're basically begging for content, and the people that are selling it to you are going to milk you for every dollar they can get. And it's like, that's not a business model. That's why it's always more lucrative for studios to make their own stuff to distribute, because they can actually mess around with the accounting a lot easier than when they license it from another studio. This is why the studios loved Netflix before, because if they struck a good deal with them, they could be like, man, we lost money on this, but even though it was popular, but we can make up for that with a Netflix contract.
Exactly. I mean, that's the thing, and that's how it used to be, and you could almost amortize a movie's losses over that. But what this tells me is, even though Barbie did well, it still wasn't enough to cover the costs of the snafus that were the Flash and, to a lesser extent, Blue Beetle.
the Flash, Blue Beetle, and the Shazam. Essentially,
Shazam was another one too. Let's not. But this is more of the third quarter. So my point is this has to do with, I'm
well, they
assuming
roll over their failures. That's the other part too. So they roll over their failures. So they'll say, okay, this is what we lost in quarter one. Well, we can mitigate that and spread that over to quarter two, and then that basically snowballs into quarter three. Quarter four is going to look horrible, especially once Aquaman got bombs. Or flops, whatever.
And they moved Dune, so that was the only thing they had a shot at maybe
mitigating some of that.
Yeah, but anyway, somebody else was going to say something there.
So script. I'm wondering. So now that we've been talking about the not Flash movie for a long time, obviously here on Midnight Edge After Dark, yes, and we're talking about how they're really kind of playing with fire still releases, not just because of Ezra, but because the amount of time that's added up, money's been adding up. And now that it's come out, the box office damage has been done. Do you think, in retrospect, it should have been shelved, or do you think they should have just taken what they could have gotten out of what little money they made? Which do you think was the preferable option to have done? Now that we've seen what's happened,
the best thing to would have done, which is what I said on this channel like a year ago, is to drop it before the Batman.
Yeah, and they should have also
Batman.
It might have helped
before the damage. Yeah, before the damage got worse.
And if not, it also probably would have helped them a lot had they recast Ezra Miller. Because that seemed to have trumped whatever. Because there was a palpable excitement when people knew Michael Keaton was in that trailer. Because I've told this story before, but it's true. I've never seen a reaction like that I did this year. Because a lot of my friends and family that know that I do this for a living, they usually assume I know this stuff. But that day of the Super Bowl, when people were keyed into we're getting another Indiana Jones, some people said a little bit about that. But the one I got literally 10 messages of my normie friends and my family were like, "Oh my God, Michael Keaton's back as Batman."
Yep.
They couldn't fucking believe it. And I'm like, yeah, we've known about it for a while if you follow what I fucking do for a living. But anyway, So I just seen that, and I seen that excitement go on for a while. And to me, what had to have killed it was just between the momentum of the James Gunn announcement, which only only us care about that part. The normies aren't paying attention to that, but the normies we're starting to hear about the Ezra Miller thing. I think that really did hurt the movie overall. And just there is no, and also it just goes to show what people at Warner's have been telling me and what we have just seen from our own observations, and that is that this Snyder crowd, the actual Snyder fans, are not as many as you would think, because there weren't even enough to make this movie a success at all in any way, shape, or form, because it's going to go down as one of the biggest flops in the history of flops when it's all said and done.
Oh God, yeah, it's going to be in the top 10, and it's going to hold it for a while. And the other part too is also to consider is that Ezra's not going to be showing up on Warner Brothers' lot anytime soon.
Fuck no.
I can't believe how many people just refuse to acknowledge the fact that, oh yeah, he's in the Flash, therefore they're keeping him. It's like, no, dude, no. They listen. Warner Brothers could have done two things. They could have done the Christopher Plummer, Kevin Spacey thing with all the money in the world, which cost them quite a penny to do, which is basically reshoot the scenes that had Kevin Spacey with Christopher Plummer. But Warner Brothers didn't want to do that expense. They just were saying, you know what, we're already this far along. There's so many, there's already so many variations we can do. It's two actors and then one actor the same actor in two roles plus a third role with heavy makeup. Do they really want to spend all that time trying to capture the same performances? No, they just want to get rid of them. And just let it play out, eat their losses, go off later.
So they're admitting that the strike is hurting them, which
which is another.
It confuses me because it's like that puts them in a bad bargaining position. It's like, oh, we're really hurting here. We have to cut a deal, right?
It's funny you mention that, yeah.
Well, they are hurting. We know that. We know right now through the trades that the heads, studio heads, have been meeting a few times, trying to essentially negotiating with themselves as to what to do. Right now, a lot of people in California specifically are really upset by the fact that the AMPTP took 100 days before they returned to the negotiating table to work this out. Basically, it's just a very clear mark of hubris on the studio side of things, thinking that they could weather this. But anyone that knows anything about Hollywood class, is that when you create talent and you put them to compete and hustle for work, they have to stretch their dollar. When you're in the board of directors and you're making millions of dollars a year, you spend as though you're making millions of dollars a year, even when you're not. And that's why there's a lot of people in the industry who, once they retire, they end up going broke because they still spend on the habits that they had before. You can never weather it. In order for you to maintain those habits, you have to be making something that you can sell. And if you're not making anything, you're basically just spending money like you're on unemployment or you're just unemployed. And that's a bad thing to do. And a lot of rich people don't know how to not do that. This is why generational wealth only lasts 3 generations, because if you're not making anything or not improving or building, it's more money going out than what's coming in. And you eventually collapse. And that is what the studios are very easily subjected to.
And that kind of segues to our other part of the story, and that is, we learned recently, again, another one of these features cost a hell of a lot more than what they're telling us, because what they're telling us is the estimated budgets up front and not what the actual cost is at the end of the day. We just learned again that the Avengers Endgame or whatever cost like a hell of a lot more than they said. We're learning this almost every week now.
Well, money was reported that may or may not have been actually spent, because that's the other part too. Like, Valiant Renegade is doing a great job, but he is still scraping the surface, because again, when it comes to tax credits and where you're shooting, sometimes you can find ways to quote unquote spend more than what you actually spent in order to get a higher credit return. And that's one of Hollywood accounting tactics. And Mike, Mexican Iron Man, knows a great deal about this as well. So more numbers are coming out as more filings are being updated and released. So eventually, Valiant and other accountants on the YouTube sphere will figure out how much was actually spent. But it's not going to be this year or next year. I think it'll be a couple of years from now.
Well, yeah, according to what Valiant has reported and some other outlets are picking up on, they cost nearly double what they had reported. And that's kind of what we're hearing for a lot of this stuff. And I wouldn't be surprised, because the big thing there is that cast. Holy shit. And
that cast is what is expensive, yeah.
Yeah, and when you get to like the second, third appearance by some of these guys, this is where, and this is something I had heard from my people about part of the reason why they even wanted to do the Batman to begin with before Zaslav was in there. And when Zaslav came in, it was a really big deal that they start to make sure that they start to cast people that aren't going to cost them an arm and a fucking leg, and they get these great big, huge contracts for future films. Because, I mean, if you think about how much money that whole Wonder Woman fiasco cost them.
Yeah. I mean, it started off like the first Wonder Woman kind of started off a little cheap because Gal Gadot was still relatively.
Yeah, but any money they made went out the window with 84.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, exactly. That's the other part too. Sometimes if you have a charming actor, that can increase their quote, especially if the movie does decently well. What's funny is that Henry Cavill's quote did not increase much across his appearances as Superman.
No, but that's because Gal Gadot's agent was smart. Not only did she get her probably a decent payday for the movie up front, but she had a back end deal, and that's what happened is she threatened to sue over that back end deal, and she got a big payday out, even though the movie didn't make jack squat. So at the end of the day, not only did that movie cost what it cost to make initially, you got to add in what they paid out to her and Patty Jenkins. So right there, that movie cost probably $400 million just because of that. And that's the other thing too, that, that movie cost them a shitload of money, and they managed to weather that just because, they hit it behind COVID. But they couldn't do that with The Flash. And we started to see already the cracks showing then, because people, the way they reacted to that film, and that was one of the first litmus tests as to how this thing was going to play out here, because we knew between Wonder Woman and Aquaman, those are the only two characters that have had a decent film come out of them yet that actually made close to or over $1 billion. And when you saw the box office of that, nothing, even though it was on HBO Max, nobody watched it on HBO Max either. The few people that did were just like, it's garbage. So this thing has been dead a lot longer than I think people realize, is what I'm trying to say here. And they've been losing money for a while on the DC universe.
And then on the Marvel side of things, I mean, Avengers Infinity War and Endgame were the last two Marvel films where they didn't need to go back for reshoots. They didn't need to do additional for photography. They didn't rewrite everything because of some sort of issues. This was pre Victoria Alonso having her power in the industry. So there's possibilities that not only was it a huge budget with regards to the above the line casting, but it was probably a far more organized and better spending of the actual production costs itself. You also have to take into account their licensing deals and their distribution deals across other markets. That factors in after the fact. So, for instance, potato chip cross promotions, any sort of video games, music, stuff like that. That all factors in towards the budget as well, because that's not necessarily money that Disney has spent or spent from their own coffers or their own lines of credit. That's money that came in from a third party to supplement the budget. And so that can also be reported in. So, for instance, let's say I have a budget of $200 million, but I do a deal with Frito-Lay's for a $60 million investment. So that goes to 260, and that's what I report as 260. But guess what? I didn't spend for my line of credit $60 million. But that's for another thing. And the other part too is in some cases, the way studios report their budget, they don't factor in those cross promotion stuff that's used to front towards the movie. And the reason they don't do that on the internal side of things is because, truthfully, when the investors are looking for how much Disney actually spent or was put on as collateral, that's what they only care about. They don't care about the third party stuff that comes in there to supplement other expenses.
Right. Well, it'll be interesting to see how this plays out as we learn more and more as we go along. Captain Phantom Nerd has been a member for 27 months. Thank you so much. At least we know the member chats are working. I haven't seen any super chats, though. So I think they're broken. But since we've had so many members, we'll do an Oscar-winning puppy. So we haven't done that in a little bit. There you go.
It's been a while.
He's such a cutie. All right. So yeah, that's the thing is it was kind of a slow news day outside of those trailers and just more, because of the strike. I mean, that's just it. I mean, and how much longer can they keep this up? I mean,
the studios are kind of suffering when you run the basic math. The 300 to 500 million they lost, even if it is from the Flash, is far greater than what Warner Brothers would have had to pay annually. Just to keep Hollywood working, which is around $47 million a year.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, wow, a third of you could have saved 2/3 of that just by finding a contract with the WGA and then another maybe third with the actors.
Well, I had heard
you're still ahead.
Yeah, and I had heard part of this had to do with like some of at least the people in the upper echelon of the studios, they're still making money off of like stocks and all that kind of business.
Stocks, investments. Oh, a lot of them actually cashed in certain bonuses in the second quarter before the strike even started, which was kind of peculiar.
Yeah, so that's the thing is it sounds like a lot of them were getting ready for this and they were doing okay while like that whole thing about we'll starve them out that I believe Bob Iger is attributed to saying. I mean, it makes sense that they're trying to do that and they'll drag this thing out as long as they can. But what I think is hilarious is that supposedly the studios are going apeshit nuts right now, and it has everything to do with Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
You guys heard about this? Obviously, Script knows what I'm talking about. They just can't shake it off, guys. But
shake it off.
Taylor Swift's new concert movie that's coming up here, I think it's next month or whatever, the one that Exorcist moved out of the way of.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's
because this thing has pre-sales like an Avengers film. Okay. Mm-hmm. I believe it's already it's either matched or beat No Way Home's pre-sales at this point. It's self-distributed by her. So there's no studio involved at all with this. So what this is doing is this is sending a signal to the studios from the theaters going, we don't fucking need you. And not only that, your shit is sucked so bad that a Taylor Swift concert is about to kick your ass.
Well, I mean, she has the luxury of being able to do that. There's a few other bands maybe that might be able to pull that off. But this is going to a very interesting business decision for hers because I believe she re-recorded all of her original songs because
she pulled a Prince.
Yeah.
So she pulled a Prince, and now she's got way more control over her catalog and how she wants to distribute it. And I think that's a good thing for her. And while this is kind of a blip in the overall totality of what is going to be distributed in theaters, it's still enough to at least cause some studios,
Send a
especially the ones
signal
that are
of sorts. Yeah.
send a signal to at least some of the studios that haven't learned the lesson yet, that you gotta, be a competitor again.
Yeah, exactly. And that's my point, is get better shit out there, because Taylor Swift thing should be no more important than, Bieber's last concert film or any of the other concert films we got over the years. And the other side of it too is that they're probably seeing is, shit, we're missing out on this, because guess what? The studios have never really embraced the concert film, whether it was music or whether it was comedy. And we like, because the top concert films of all time are like that Justin Bieber one, and the Michael Jackson one's number one.
Mm-hmm.
And you can barely consider that a concert film, because that's more about the making of a concert that never happened, right?
You talk about the one prior to his death, right?
Yes.
Yeah, because they're doing that making of, and then they're going to shoot the concert, and then they're going to go run them concurrently. I was excited for that until, unfortunately, his tragic death.
So that's what we did get out of that anyway. That's the highest grossing quote unquote concert film of all time at $200 some million. Second to that was Belieber or whatever. And then I think before that, I think we have to go back and look, but I believe it was Rhythm and the U2 one from 87 or whatever. But that's because that's the last time they really did a full studio level release of a concert film. Because that was my point I was getting to, is they've always really only done like limited releases of these kind of things before. And same thing even with like comedy concert films. And that's why I think to this day, Eddie Murphy Raw is still the number one concert film. Rattle and Hum. Thank you, D. Pensack. I forgot the name of it. I knew what I was thinking of. Yeah. Because that was actually released by Warner Brothers or whatever, but yeah.
Taylor Swift, like you mentioned, she is one of a handful of artists who could pull this off. And she's also got enough talent that she can go off on her own creatively and still do well, which, some artists do rely on other people to write their stuff for them. Taylor has enough like talent. I mean, like, she's not my favorite artist, not my genre, but I can appreciate that she has what it takes.
I guess never underestimate the power of 12-year-old girls. That's all I'm going to say when it comes to
12-year-old girls and, dating a lot of terrible men.
Yeah. But you were about to say CC, sorry.
No, but I mean, but also like for a lot of artists, I mean, it's their first 4 albums, their first 8 to 10 years, and then nobody really remembers, and they don't have a cultural impact after that. Yeah, and I gotta I don't. Taylor's not my favorite artist, but I appreciate what she's doing. She's 20 years in or whatever now, pushing that, and she's still culturally relevant. And that's a
Dr. Coffin Nails. I have been trying to figure this out. There's a few things I think, but that doesn't even really matter, because at the end of the day, I think the funnier thing is what this is showing. What Script Doctor and I were just saying about some of the lessons or warnings that could be showing Hollywood. And some of the things some of these theaters might be trying to send as far as a message too. Because I believe that this is a whole deal she made with like AMC and other theaters on her own or something like that, was my understanding of this. So she's pocketing all this money. There's no studio to play middleman here. So you got to imagine these guys are pissed right now how much money they're losing out on.
I wouldn't take the lesson that she's going to be the rule. She really is the exception.
No, I agree with you too, CC, on that. Like, you're not going to be able to do this with any old artist. But just imagine, though, some of those top, few that could pull something like this off again, and starting deals with like the music companies and AMC, and that's going to make the studios kind of get pissy after a while if they don't get to be the middleman in this equation.
Well, I mean, some of the Warner Brothers owns a bunch of music companies, so they actually are.
They could
do something like this, but I don't think a Rolling Stone reunion tour in theaters is going to sell like Taylor Swift these days, unfortunately. But the other part too to also consider is the fact that this Hollywood is mostly a top-down industry, which means that the people that have the money, they make the decision on what movies get made and what gets released, and they have not been doing that properly well. And the worst part is that the writers that are getting the opportunities to work on this, and same with the directors, are not giving their A game. And if they are giving their A game, then they really aren't worth the salt they're made of, because it's been quite pathetic. The other part to also factor into here, before I lose this thought, although it might be escaping me right now, is how yeah, I lost it. Sorry.
Don't you hate it when you do that? I'm like, I want to get this out, and then you're like, shit, I forgot what it was already.
It's gonna come back.
Real time.
It'll come back.
Wait, sorry.
It's important.
I remember. Brian Duffield, writer director. He has a movie coming out on Hulu that should be in theaters called No One Will Save You, and that's probably going to do gangbusters on Hulu, but the studio should have said no. This is a theatrical film because it looks like a good theatrical film. It's an alien invasion, a horror, and it's from one of the most up and coming writers who's been in the industry for many years, but he's always made a couple of hits that a lot of people have really liked, and he doesn't fit into the normal ideology that's been pushed by Disney's acolytes, so to speak. So that's one of the things that hopefully if people, if you out there, the audience, start sending signals by saying, yes, we're going to watch these types of movies. We're going to see, if you are a fan, Taylor Swift in theaters, that message has been breaking through to some of the other studios, but it still it can't stop, and it should never stop, because again, the moment it stops, the moment that you abide by the level of quality that is diminished with every year, is the moment that they get that hubris and basically say, okay, well, we're Marvel. You'll watch anything we want. We want you to watch because you have lowered your bar to the level where we can actually take advantage of you, as opposed to the other way around, which is you as the audience have to say, dude, if you're going to be spending $200 million on a movie, you better make it worth my time.
I mean, that was a story that came out around Baldur's Gate 3, right? Is that other gaming studios say, hey, don't make a game this good, or you'll force us all to have to work harder and make better products. It's better if the audience is just used to the McDonald's, the base level, so that we can keep selling that. And that's the standard.
Yeah. No, that's very true. Let's see what the chat is talking about here. We actually got some super chats here. Pilgrim Media has been a member for 8 months. Thank you. CC sent me a pooper sticker to test the pooper stickers out. They work. Thank you so much, CC. SXHBK says, why could they not just give us Batman 3 with Keaton instead of the Flash nonsense? Well, for one, Keaton is way too old for that. I mean, it would have been kind of cool to see I guess like an aged Batman come back. But you know what? It's funny and interesting. I was watching a video that brought up the point, and this is very true, that this would have been the equivalent of bringing back Adam West in 1989 Tim Burton Batman to play Batman, because he was the same age, actually a little bit younger than what Keaton is now.
Yeah. He was still, let's see, he was 38 when he did Batman, so he would have been 60.
Yeah, he was in his 60s or whatever.
In his early to mid 60s.
I think he beat Keaton by like a few years, like 4 or 5 years or whatever it is. But yeah, because that was the thing, is like Adam West, believe it or not, took it very hard that he wasn't going to play Batman. In fact, like he cried over it. Yeah. Because he had played the character for so long that even though he knew this was going to be a darker take on the character, he was willing to try it, and he wanted to do it just because. But they, that's not what they wanted. They didn't want any, and I understand why. They didn't want any association with that version of the character. But in his, it's kind of a sad story to think about it. It's kind of pathetic, but
they offered him a role as a cameo of Thomas Wayne.
I was going to say, yeah, but I think he turned it down. Yeah, didn't he?
I think he still would have been too old for that anyways. I mean,
but they offered it.
Him being the mayor would probably
could have pulled it off. Yeah, he would have been better as the mayor, though. I agree.
Instead of him, they took the guy who fell off the window in Superman 1. The thief.
The thief. Yeah, the thief who fell out of Superman. He played the mayor, right?
No, he played Thomas Wayne.
Thomas Wayne. But either way, he could have played both parts. At that point, that's the thing. Adam West may have looked or may have been 60-something, but he didn't look that old at that time. In fact, that was my point I was going to get to, is that Adam West looked better at that age than Michael Keaton does.
Yes, he did actually. Too many years before that movie came out that I met him, it was in his costume, and he looked good.
Well, Adam West was around 61 in 89.
Yeah.
So he was 10 years younger than Michael Keaton.
There you go. So 10 years. I was going to say at least a few years on him. Yeah. I forget how old Michael Keaton is.
Decent. I mean, the makeup job they did in that movie, The Flash.
You can tell that's a body double, though, with the fucking fight scene.
I'm not talking about the fight scenes. I'm just talking about when he's not in costume and he's just.
And it sounds like they went against his wishes, and that's probably why all his fight scenes are in CGI. Did you read that script? He actually,
wishes.
yeah, he wanted the suit to be cumbersome. He said, "I can't move in this suit. You got to make sure I move like I used to." Is what he said in an interview, I guess. But then you watch the movie and he's got all these action sequences. It's like, maybe that's why they're all in CGI, because he refused to shoot that shit. Like they did that without him knowing it, is what I'm wondering. Like, because he wanted to be like the old Batman, because he's like, I can't move my head and all this other stuff. You got to make sure the costume is cumbersome like the original one.
And only light.
Yeah, he said just lighter. He goes, make it lighter, but he goes, I don't want to be able to move my. He goes, because they were going to be able to. I guess they were going to give him a new tactical suit or whatever. But like, he's like, no, don't give me any of that new shit.
Just make sure I can go to the bathroom in it.
Yeah,
and it's light.
Yeah, but I guess I don't know where the interview's at. I'll have to see if I find it again. I'll send it to you. But
cool. I
was thinking that I'm like, well, then why is he fucking fighting like he's a 19-year-old in like the most flexible suit on earth? Like that makes no sense.
I mean, the suit itself, it was basically rubber body armor all over top of a turtleneck.
I mean, his suit kind of is what I would figure the third suit would have been had they done a third Tim Burton movie. Probably close to that.
Yeah,
just kind of a graduation up from the Batman Returns suit.
Oh, we lost Tom now. He probably
did his now Tom left. So I guess that means me or Script or CC is next to have our moment of dropping out on accident.
No, he hit his mouse.
I'm getting a new mouse.
Look at his expression.
What happened to your old mouse?
Well, this is just the one that came with it. It's a fancy, nice mouse, and it's actually corded, which I don't mind. So I guess I suppose
but the other one's wireless, eh?
Yeah, but here's my problem with it. Is nothing to do with that so much as the two buttons. There's two little buttons that are on this mouse. There's a few buttons that are normally not on a mouse, just because it's a gaming mouse. And they're right here, if I can bring it up here high enough, right next to my thumb.
They're big.
One goes forward and back. Yeah, and they're real easy to bump.
Oh yeah. See, I've got a Corsair mouse which has 4 buttons on the side, like 2 on the left and 2 on the right. But it's below. It's the far above where your thumb would rest when you normally hold the mouse. So
I've tried finding where I can change it. I can't find it. I've looked and I've looked and I've looked. I even looked up like ways to try and do it. I can't figure it out. So,
damn.
And you would think that this computer, since it was made for it, would be easy to go in and manipulate. As a gaming thing, you think I should be able to go in and change it. Yeah. Because then I could change it to a button that actually be useful. If I hit it, it wouldn't matter. But anyway, thank you for that SXHBK. But there's a lot of great videos out there to kind of speculate on what Batman 3 would have been. I think it was, what they used was, my understanding, the original was still basically what they were going to do with Tim Burton. It was just when Schumacher came on board, and the studio themselves wanted it to go in that. It was written under the guise of the studio.
Yeah.
And Keaton was attached way up until, like, actually I take that, because as far as I know, that suit wasn't one of the suits that Kilmer wore meant for Keaton anyway, or something like that.
Only the stuff that Kilmer wore in the test footage.
Okay, just the test footage,
because they always make it to the actor, but
because he fell out real late in the game.
He fell out shortly after Burton was no longer there, because one of the things Keaton liked is the fact that the third movie was going to explore how he became Batman, which the third movie touches on a little bit with the cave and
that's the stuff that got cut out more so, but yeah.
But no, like the earliest draft of the script that I have, it's pretty much
well, and Schumacher has said in every interview, in the commentary and everything, like he as far as he knew, he was making the movie with Keaton. It was Val Kilmer that came in at the last minute, because once he found out that Keaton fell out, he had to find somebody quick, and he had just happened to see, I can't remember what movie it was that Val Kilmer was in at that time. The Saint, thank you. And he's like, that guy could play Batman. Well, it was something like, I can't remember. It was something before that anyway. He goes, he can play Batman. That was it. That was how he got the job.
Bobby said it was the Saint, but it could have been something else.
I can't remember what he said.
During Batman and Robin.
Okay, that's so he took that instead.
Because Val Kilmer, basically, the rumor is that Val Kilmer left because they picked Arnold Schwarzenegger over him. And
what? Yeah, because the Saint came out in 97.
Yeah, the Saint came out in 97. Batman and Robin came out in 90. Batman Forever came out in 95.
97 actually, but yeah.
Batman and Robin 97. Batman Forever 95. And
Or Batman Forever 95. I'm sorry, you're right. Correct. Sorry.
Yep.
Right.
And the reason being is that Val Kilmer, I guess, had a chip on his shoulder for Arnold Schwarzenegger because Schwarzenegger picked Robert Patrick over him for the T-1000.
Yep, that's the rumor.
That's the rumor, yeah.
Silly stuff, huh?
Yeah. There's another rumor that's attached to that, too. And you could kind of see it in the script with the Clooney bit with Alfred, because the other rumor is that Kilmer didn't leave so much over Schwarzenegger as he had seen the trend of these movies, and that was the star getting overshadowed by the villains. And if you consider all of his shit that got cut out of Batman Forever was his personal shit.
Yep.
And he was getting similar promises that this movie was supposed to be more about, you know, Bruce Wayne and his relationship with Alfred. And then he gets the script and he finds out that Uma Thurman and Arnold Schwarzenegger in the movie too. He's probably like, fuck this. And I heard he had a bit of an ego at that time, so I could see that.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, well, I'm not going to fucking compete with Arnold Schwarzenegger. And if that other part's true, I'm sure that added to the fucking equation. He's like, that dickhead treated me like shit when I tried to be in Terminator 2 anyway, you know, or something like that. He probably said, you know, I could see that, you know. But anyway, I just, it's one of those things where at the time, it's sad they couldn't have worked it out, but obviously Schumacher didn't fight enough for him either. So
he called him an a-hole.
Well, they probably didn't get along. That's probably another reason why they're like, fuck, it was a good thing they didn't.
I saw an interview where he said the reason why Val Kilmer is not playing
Tombstone. That's what it was. He saw him in. I forgot. Now I remembered. He saw him as Doc Holliday. Yeah.
Right.
Yep. Wait a minute, but I've heard the story where he was on the set of Tombstone, still making it when he got the job to play Batman Forever.
Well, I don't know about that, unless that's Val Kilmer changing history, because Keaton was attached up until very close to production.
The one thing I know for sure is I definitely remember was Schumacher saying the reason why Val Kilmer is not playing Batman again is because Val Kilmer is.
But Michael Keaton has changed his story on why he left a few times too. So
yeah,
a whole bunch of pricks. In fact, Schumacher is the nicest among them. At least he apologized.
That's the sad part, right? Like going back on it, we hated him for years for what he did to Batman.
Hi, Freeze. I'm Batman.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I listened to that director's commentary on the first run of the DVDs for Batman and Robin, and he apologizes for it.
Oh yeah, no, that's what I'm saying.
Right away.
He apologizes in both the making of and probably in the commentary too. He probably said the same thing because he felt bad, and he also feels bad because he thought he was doing both what the fans and the studio wanted. He didn't realize that the fans were more into the darker stuff. He thought they wanted the funnier, campier stuff.
I love Batman Forever, and yes, it's not a great movie, but I'm so entertained by it. I straight up want my Schumacher cut.
Well, Script and I have debated this.
It's ahead of its time. That's the other part too. It's very ahead of its time.
Oh, well, Script and I have talked about this.
One of Jim Carrey's best performances too.
I think we came to the conclusion that Batman Forever is probably the closest to the comic book yet that we've got.
A-rated B movie, B-rated A movie, maybe. Just saying.
Oh, it'll be eventually. We already did Batman Returns.
Oh, yeah,
that's just because that's
Batman
a guilty
Forever.
pleasure.
We gotta do Batman Forever.
Clobby was about to chime in there on that one.
Go ahead.
No, I'm just gonna say that it is the closest as a nice, like a tip of the hat to the Adam West show. It's a modernized version of that, and therefore it kind of works. But even the Adam West show was.
I'd say that's Batman and Robin more so.
That's what I'm saying. No, I said Batman and Robin, not Batman.
Oh, no, we're talking about Batman Forever.
Oh, okay.
See, Batman Forever, we have said, is probably the closest we've actually gotten to the actual comic version of Batman on screen.
Yeah, there's some crazy crap in there that doesn't fit the work.
Doesn't quite, but
I don't like the characterizations of Two-Face or the Riddler. The performances.
Well, that's Tommy Lee Jones's fucking fault.
That is.
Yeah, that's Tommy Lee Jones's fault there. I mean, some of the things with regards to like the genius of Batman that's in Forever kind of fits into a little bit of the comics and a little bit of the.
I'm talking more about Batman. Yeah.
Like when Batman frees the the safe from the cable, and then it just slides back into its original position. I'm like,
Right,
okay,
right.
that's both comic-y and
That's comic,
Adam-y, but it works because that's how awesome Batman
because
is.
he's Batman.
Well, and
Batman
then
can
him
do that.
using his just using like I like the bit where he just grabs the guy's hearing aid and stuff and uses that and stuff.
We had a saying back.
He actually does some detective work with the Riddler. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, the Riddler's like Joker. I'm like, no. You got to watch what he's doing there. Jim Carrey is not trying to be the Joker. Jim Carrey is doing what Frank Gorshin did, but on crack. Like, he's making it scary. He is taking it to that. You could kind of see the beginning of where Jim was going to go with these, freakier like stuff later, especially not when he's in full. I'm not talking so much about like, look at him when he's Edward Nygma, not so much when he's fucking the Riddler. When he's Edward Nygma, he's borderline psycho, right? He's right on the cusp of it. And then, when he gets to the Riddler, though, he's just basically being Gorshin. But, it's like, he does a brilliant performance. Yeah, he's really great. And they've ripped his fucking storyline off in how many different movies now? And it almost to the point where they basically replay it almost exactly in Batman and Robin, sans a few things that we had talked about before on that one show script where they flipped a few things around, but it's almost the same damn thing they did with Poison Ivy in the next movie. Like who's going to say something? I think CC.
No, I was just saying, like, for me, he really stole the show in that movie. And the reason that I watch it over and over again is for Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
I just enjoy that performance.
I love that
so
bit
much.
when he's like, "Yeah, we looked at your proposal and we decided we're gonna pass. That's not gonna work for me." Like that way he says that.
I need an answer now. I think I deserve it. Well, then no.
Yeah, then no.
I'm gonna think about it, but no,
not gonna work for me.
No, I mean it's basically a very narcissistic, stalkery type of thing where you attach yourself to your hero, thinking that they're gonna fall in love with you as easily as you fell in love with them. And the reality is just untrue. And it was really, I mean, the other part too, the riddles in
the Incredibles ripped it off.
The riddles in that script are actually quite clever. And those are not written by Akiva Goldsman. Those are written by the two original writers whose names escape me at the moment. But I mean, just as someone said,
Akiva was brought in to lighten up the script from Burton's.
Yeah, he was brought in to tweak it. He basically, because Edward Nygma wasn't Edward Nygma in the script; it was another name. He just changed it back to Edward Nygma, and that gave him enough credit to be featured as a rewrite on the script.
Didn't he add some of the hammier shit to it though? That was my point. Because that was the thing is that we got to remember when this happened. When it first started, it was going to be a Tim Burton movie. Then they had the backlash because Batman 3 was ready to go in production right after, and even Tim Burton was excited for this one. And that's what he says in his interview, which I find is great because he's like, I was actually excited because we found ourselves during, the second movie. We're like, well, if we don't get to it in this one, we'll get to it in the next one. And he, of course, was talking about Robin at that time because Robin kept getting pushed down the line. So he's like, I come into the offices for the third film around 93 or whatever it was, and they're like, about halfway into the meeting, I'm like, you guys don't want me to do this, do you? They're like, no, not at all, Tim. But we were just thinking maybe you want to do something smaller, maybe something a little more personal. Well, anything else you'd want to do, maybe. Like, no, I get it. You guys don't want me to do this. And they did not want him to do it. They wanted him to not want to do it because they didn't want to have to tell him, no, you're not making this movie. Because I think they had a contract with, didn't they? Script, and that's why he ended up becoming the producer on the next two, if I'm not mistaken. But
yeah, they he had a pay or play deal for third Batman, but it wasn't specific to him being a director. That was the other part too,
right
that happened.
Yeah, so they kind of cut him out of that. Yeah.
So the original screenplay that I have here, it's the second draft. I can't find an early one yet, but I'm probably sure I might be able to when I get back to LA. It was done by Lee and Janet Batchelor. And they wrote this draft in March 11th of 94. And it's pretty, I mean, it's pretty much almost identical to what you get into the movie, except a couple of names are done here. I believe because
Chase Meridian's right out of the comics too. Isn't she?
No, I don't know. No, I don't think
so.
No,
Clobby, I thought she was.
Nope. But the person that was going to be the Riddler is not Edward Nygma, but Lyle Heckendorf is the name that they started with. And I guess Akiva came in and changed that to Edward. I'm just trying to see if there's anything else in here. Yeah, no, lots of Bruce and Alfred stuff.
She's been added since. Okay, my bad, I think.
Yeah, Chase was a new character created by Lee, and she's in the second draft. So that's one of. I guess Kiva didn't change her name.
Okay, what I was thinking of is she was in the original Burton, and the reason her name is Meridian is for a reason. Is because she was supposed to be, because Catwoman was supposed to return, and she was going to be in the love triangle with Bruce. That was her original point. That was what I remember reading somewhere. So like I know Meridian was, because I was trying to think, I know Meridian was a character that was brought back in, but it was already there through the Keaton version and Burton version.
Okay.
Because Catwoman was supposed to return. And then this movie was, the third film was supposed to set up his Catwoman movie. Because we got to remember, his meeting would have took place in like early 93 or late 92 probably, or 93 I think is what he said. Because that would have been when the movie came out, hit video, all that shit. Then they got the backlash. Because remember that movie came out and it was quick because they did the same thing with the first movie that they did with the first movie. They got it out on video before Christmas.
Yep.
And the backlash started coming in from McDonald's and all these other places. I'm sure they didn't hear a lot about that until they started ramping up for part 3. Because they also announced Catwoman right after Batman Returns. They said Batman 3 and Catwoman are going into pre-production instantly because Batman Returns did very well its opening weekend. Now, it underperformed from the first movie in the long run, but that was, because of different reasons throughout the, some people didn't like it. You had a little bit of backlash from the parents at the time. I thought it was stupid. As a kid, I love the movie. Like as an adult, I can look at it and say it's a horrible representation of Batman, but it's a fun fucking movie. And I love DeVito as the Penguin. I eat that version up. I know it's not the comic accurate version, but and I'm sorry, Catwoman is amazing in that movie. Like,
Michelle Pfeiffer. Back in the days when if you're an actor and you're saying, hey, you got to use this tool or this weapon, you got to go through training to learn how to do it in camera authentically. And Michelle Pfeiffer knew how to use that.
She did it.
Weapon.
The only thing she didn't do in that movie was the flips.
Yes. She couldn't in that suit.
Nope. And they actually had a professional stunt.
They had a professional and they had a different suit for her to do it. A more spandexy suit painted up to look like what she was wearing.
Yep. So I hold that movie in high regard just for my own personal reasons. But anyway, we need to get beyond this. But thank you so much. That was a really good member chat. There's a good question. Wolfwood asks what our favorite Godzilla movie of all time is. Well, do we take the original film off the table because that's like an obvious answer?
I think the original should be off the table because everybody loves the original. I like Godzilla versus Monster Zero.
That'd be the Ghidorah one, right?
I think so, yeah.
First time he faces Ghidorah anyway, I believe. That's the American name of it.
So tough to pick. Let's go.
I couldn't tell you.
At least those I know a little. There's hundreds of those. Like, no, there's 35 or whatever. But like, I know those names better than I do the Bruce Lee movies because they got them so goddamn convoluted.
Let's go with the childhood.
What are you going to say, Klobby?
I'll just say go with the childhood and go destroy all monsters.
Good one. Nikki?
Man, honestly, I probably, and this is not probably because it's the best one, but it's just for nostalgia purposes, the first Godzilla versus Kong. That to me was like one of my first big crossover seeing a movie. Like I say, it's not the best one at all, but I was just so immersed by that crossover that I go back to it every now and then just because of the memories it brought me. I'm not as knowledgeable on the franchise of Godzilla. I've seen probably around 10-ish, maybe 15 of the types of movies. So, but I've not seen like all of them. So, my knowledge is above normie, but not an expert level. I'm that right.
So you like this
in the
one?
Middle. Yes, that's exactly the one I'm talking about.
That's one of my favorites too. But if it's not that one, it's definitely this one. If you can't pick the first movie. So yeah. And it's usually the American version of the 85. I do like the Japanese version all right, but for some reason it was one of those movies I grew up with the American version. So, and it's the same thing goes for some of these other ones too, but 9 times out of 10, they didn't change the movie so much after the first one. They just redubbed them. So at that point, the movies don't change so much. The only ones that I know of that are majorly different would be the first movie, this one, 85, and King Kong Godzilla is a little different. But the rest of them, outside of the names, I don't think they change too much.
Mhm.
I got that Criterion set too that has like all the different versions of it, and otherwise I've got all the random Blu-rays from the
Wow.
later era ones. But yeah, as far as I know, I think they've all been released, and I have them all outside of 85 is the only one that technically hasn't legally been released. But I have 84, so does that count? It's the same movie, just without Raymond Burr and cut in a
Yeah.
little different way.
No, man. I remember that we were so excited for Godzilla 85.
I like it, but I see how cheesy it is now.
Yeah.
But it is one of the more serious ones at that time that came out, because it really was taking Godzilla back from the goofy.
Well, I mean, of the originals, there's in '84 there was the Return of Godzilla, and then there was Godzilla '85.
Well, they're the same movie, actually.
Well,
See,
I'm just looking over the stuff right now. Their runtime's different.
yeah, because 85 is cut differently.
Yeah.
The Return of Godzilla is also known as Godzilla 84 in Japan, because it came out in 84 in Japan, but it came out here in 85. They just called it Godzilla 1985, recut it, shot some scenes with Raymond Burr to make it a direct sequel to the original Godzilla. But it is technically the same movie as Godzilla, the Return of Godzilla or whatever, aka Godzilla 84. Yeah. They got a couple different names. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
And what's weird because
it's like a director's cut versus the theatrical.
Kind of like, and that's the thing is the Japanese version, it's just like a few things are cut out of sequence, and then the American version, they just trimmed it down and they added in the Raymond Burr scenes. But I still think the American version's shorter, which is weird, but yeah, just how it happened to work out. Because they cut out a lot of the Japanese storyline stuff in that one. But to my memory, I haven't watched both versions in a while. I have to watch them back to back and see what exactly is all different. Same thing with Godzilla versus King Kong. See, the thing is there's not so much different with that as people think, but they filmed some different scenes for the US, but it does not have an alternate version of the ending like most people thought. And that was actually because of some monster magazine or book that came out in the late 60s or early 70s. And that had said that there was an alternate version in Japan where Godzilla wins. And that's not true. The only difference is when King Kong is leaving or whatever, you hear Godzilla's roar as well at the end. That's it. So it's like, okay, whatever. So that's the only thing that's different. I watched it finally, like, wait, where's this alternate ending? So I did some more research on it. It's like, no, that's not the truth. So, yeah. But anyway, moving on. Thank you for all more Godzilla business. We got more Godzilla business here. It says one fan. He says, well, bring on the Toho monster. I agree. And we got John Thomas, who says, speaking of trailers, did you see the Kirk Shatner and Gorn game trailer? Unfortunately, the game looks like Pine Ersatz Kirk, not real Kirk. I have not seen this trailer. I tried finding it. So you'll have to tag me in it or something. The only trailer I could find with Kirk and a Gorn was some 10-year-old.
Like, the one on the couch, right? From like 10 years ago.
So I don't think that's what he's referring to. So yeah, if you can tag me in this, John, or send it to me on Twitter or something, or somewheres like that, then maybe I can check it out. Nelson Sharita says Michael Keaton is old Bruce in a Batman Beyond movie. He'd be perfect and fans would go nuts. They could do it, but why give the fans what they want? Well, there were some people who wanted to go that direction, and that's why we got Batgirl.
Yep. Because
that's why we didn't get Batgirl.
Well, you know what I mean. That's what Batgirl was defunct going to be, or whatever you want to call it. It was going to be your Batman Beyond setup, basically, and it was going to be Batgirl instead of what's his face,
Terry McGinnis.
Terry McGinnis. Don't get me wrong. I don't doubt for 1 second that movie is an atrocity. It's just with everything that we've seen this year with not Flash, you're thinking how much worse can it get? That was the movie that got shelved. Granted, I know a lot less money is spent, a lot less star power is involved, a lot less was relying on as far as the story goes. But I'm just thinking, how bad do you have to go? Like, it almost makes me want to see it just to see what it was like in that regard.
Oh yeah, I see what you're saying.
There is that curiosity.
Well, the rumors that I'm hearing is that not only was the direction poor, but the unfortunately for the Leslie Grace is her name, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think so.
She did not hold the movie the way that she needed to. Apparently, the performances from Keaton and Brendan Fraser were amazing in spite of all that stuff, but not enough for it to save the movie, because I don't think they're in the movie as much as Leslie Grace is. And I think that's kind of an issue. And from some of the leaked footage that has gone out there, especially some of the behind the scenes stuff, it's like, well, the production did one terrible thing, which is that they didn't actually have Leslie Grace go through any training for the physical stuff that they wanted her to do in camera. And you can tell the way that she runs, the way that she tries to do a fight scene in there. It's like they gave her 2 hours ahead of time and then said, okay, go.
So
And
basically, Netflix Iron Fist. No proper training. Just go for it. Just go for it.
Netflix Iron Fist in the sense that the main actors didn't show up to do any of this stuff, even though it was scheduled.
Yeah.
In this case here, they didn't even schedule it. It's like, this is how we're doing it. And I think they did that for budgetary reasons, because I think it was only like a $60 million to $90 million budget for HBO Max. And because again, they had no third party cross promotions or anything of that nature, it was easier for Warner Brothers to dump it and write it off than any other movie they'd done, because they weren't selling it or pre-selling it anywhere.
Yep. And that's why they really couldn't dump The Flash, or they can't dump Aquaman.
Yeah, it's already pre-sold.
Yep. And Batman Beyond movie with Keaton would have been amazing had they done it right, but I think they may have shot their wad on this. I highly doubt they're going to talk Keaton back into anything else at this point, and it's just not on the agenda. And he's not getting any younger. I think that the chances of getting him back in the cowl have been blown with The Flash and Batgirl, and after the response to that, I don't see DC getting behind bringing him back, because they're not going to see it the way we do. They're not going to see it as, look, Michael Keaton wasn't the fucking problem, right? And we're not going to get baited by something like Michael Keaton is what we were trying to say, but they're not going to see it that way. They're just going to say, oh, well, people didn't even show up for Michael Keaton, so he's clearly not enough to sell a movie.
That's true.
It's the way they think. Action Comes' panel. The next TV you get, smart TV or dumb TV? I prefer dumb TVs, but they don't really make them no more.
I get the projectors, and either get a projector screen or a really good projector paint. Set it up that way. You hook it up to your
my
Blu-ray
next
player
goal.
or 4K player. Yeah, you're really good.
But I gotta have a place that has like a decent, like finished basement or something, because I want, I can't.
You want to make it a proper sound system room and all that
and everything like that. Yeah, and I can't. I got to be able to control the lighting, because, all that. I know some are getting better though, but.
Oh yeah, some of the new ones with the LED emitter lenses are absolutely
the laser
amazing.
ones are supposed to be amazing too.
Yeah, well, the laser ones will burn a hole in your projector wall after too much play. But yes,
really,
they're. Oh yeah, I've already seen some people complain about that.
Oh, wow, I've never heard of that.
They did a marathon, and then when they turned it off, everything was like, oh crap, there's etching of some of the longer takes and stuff in the screen.
I never even heard that being a problem.
I'm like, wow, I've never seen that before, and it's like crazy. So I think they're still working the kinks out of it. Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like plasma. Just as they finally started figuring out how to make it to where the plasmas didn't have burn in, they quit making them. Because I got one of the latter models that doesn't have a problem so much with burn in, and they were getting really good. Like I've even said that my Valiant agreed with me, because he used to be in this business, and I said my plasma has almost as good a picture as my 4K. In some cases, I'd say better if I'm just watching standard Blu-ray.
Oh no, plasma was ahead of its time.
Yeah, color and clarity and all that. Yeah,
they were. I mean, what was it? LG had one of the better plasma models out there, if I'm not mistaken.
Probably. I have a Panasonic is what mine is, but I think he has the same model as mine, but mine's also an active 3D TV. So.
Oh yeah, 3D TVs.
That's the only reason I still have it around.
Yeah,
that's the only reason I have it around. Once I can upgrade to a projector that handles both 4K and 3D, then it's a whole new game. And then I can get rid of some of these older TVs. But I've got 2 3D TVs I hang on to just because I've got like over 100 some 3D Blu-rays, and I'm not getting rid of them until I can play them in some other means. And I don't know where all my fucking VR shit is, and that's no fun to watch a movie all by yourself. So
yeah.
Your Muslim uncle says Val would have been better with a better script. I think at that point, that's kind of the point I was saying. It doesn't really matter who is in the movie. I mean, in some ways, Val Kilmer almost, I don't know. I mean, that's the problem. I don't know if he would have been able to handle. I mean, he could handle the humor. I don't think he would have been on board with it, because I think it was taking it one step too far for him from Forever, probably. Because I mean, he can do parody and satire; he's done that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
But I just don't think that was part of his. He didn't want to do that. Action Comics says Tommy Lee Jones was an energetic young man in his youth. I don't know.
If you want to see Tommy Lee Jones when he was younger, where where unfortunately he still looked like a 60-year-old Tommy Lee Jones, that would be in the pilot to Charlie's Angels.
Yeah, he was also in Rolling Thunder as a young guy and some other stuff. But you're right, he always looked old.
He always looked older than he actually was.
Yeah, because he's like in his 20s in that, and he still looks like he's in his 40s or 50s at least.
40s or 50s, even with that 70s hair, like Dirk Benedict.
Yeah, you can never say he was baby faced at any point.
Nope. He was born already an old man.
I'm an old man. I got no time for your buffoonery. That's what he said to Jim Carrey. I have no time, nor can I sanction your buffoonery. Yet and then he goes and tries to upstage him. You dumb shit. You could have totally done it your own way too, Tommy Lee. I hate calling him a dumb shit, but that's the one time in his entire career. It's like, dude, why didn't you think this through? You are the better actor, right? All you got to do is be there. And you trying to overdo what he's doing, you're just going to come off like a buffoon yourself instead of just trying to play it straight and scare the fuck out of the audience. Because he could have done that. That's Tommy Lee Jones. 1 second he's the nice guy that we know he can be, and the next minute he's this scary villainous kind of guy we know he can be, because he's played both.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. It's like, I don't know why I even thought that was a good idea. Someone should have
said, "You're not competing with Jim."
Yeah, that was Joel's fault. Joel should have told him, like, no, you just need to play this straight. That's why we hired you. Because there's still people who don't think that they would have stuck with
Billy D.
Williams, even if Burton would have stuck around.
Yeah, Billy D wanted to do it desperately. Like, that's the only reason.
Because I'm trying to find the timeline, and I wonder if he already didn't get his payout before Burton was gone. Because there's another thing I was reading about, was that there was a plausibility that Tommy Lee was being brought in way before that, because they didn't think that he could carry the movie at that time, or he wasn't a big enough name that they wanted to carry.
Tommy Lee was definitely pushed back in that movie too.
But you also got to remember where Tommy Lee was at that time. That was fresh off of The Fugitive and shit.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a huge, big hit. And Billy D. Williams was Billy D. Williams, but he wasn't marquee name Billy D. Williams at that point.
No, he's still a really good, smooth actor. But yeah, they I think they dropped the ball in that regard for him.
Oh yeah, no, he deserved it. And if you're going to set him up like that, why not? But I'm sure Tim would have preferred to bring him back. But I'm trying to find the timeline. But from what I'm understanding is that he probably got paid out very early on. Like, they were thinking of bringing somebody else in. I don't know if Tommy Lee was Joel Schumacher's choice. I think it was, but I think they were already toying with somebody else way before Joel was brought in.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I like the casting. I think I agree. I think he could have played the role brilliantly. He didn't really have much to do in the movie anyways, when it was all said and done, though. I mean, it was at least in my opinion, there was way more focus on the Riddler.
Well,
they just kind of took a back seat.
Yeah. Well, the problem with it is they didn't utilize the character correctly in the script, at least in my opinion, because you can do multiple villains, just make sure that they work together correctly. Like, because the problem with Two-Face and Riddler is they just get them together because the fucking movie needs them to.
Unlike, yeah, I mean, there's no point there. I mean, the movie became really about the Riddler. That was the principal story, and then Two-Face is just there.
You don't see it, like, it's as plain as the nose on your face. And maybe, I don't know, script, you can help me out because I've never read the earlier versions, but maybe that was part of the story to begin with. But there's clearly a duality with all of these characters. I mean, there always is, but I mean, more so when it comes to Two-Face, clearly, because it's right on his face, right? He's got a dual personality right there. You got the Batman Bruce Wayne thing. That's a big question that's being talked about within the story of the script. That's the whole reason for the name Batman Forever.
Yep. And
then you have the Riddler, which is Edward Nygma graduating to the Riddler. So he has his duality as well, right? He has the meek, weak side of himself, and then he has the Riddler side, which is him dealing with that.
It makes sense. Yeah.
So you have those three characters playing with that, which was also something that was kind of introduced as a kernel in Batman Returns with the relationship with Catwoman and Batman. And that was where she was asking, what do we do now that we know who we are? I don't know how to act, kind of a thing she was saying in so many words. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So you have that taken to the next level, kind of with Batman himself asking, who am I? The Two-Face never knows who he is. And Edward Nygma having also this same kind of,
Well, he loses himself to the Riddler.
Loses himself to the Riddler. And if that's part of the story originally, I can see those characters playing off of each other, but you still got to come up with a good reason for them to get together other than we just got to kill Batman.
Well, that's it. And I love the movie. And like I said, I love Jim Carrey and I'm glad they focused on him. And I love that they all have that duality. But you're right. I mean, he's like,
because they already did that with the Catwoman and that was already loose enough to where she's just kind of like teaming up with the Penguin because she thinks the two of them can beat Batman. That's really all it is, too. There. So
what impact did Two-Face really have on Jim Carrey on the Riddler's progression in that movie?
He was a mentor figure.
Yeah.
I mean that's the only. It's a very loose reason for him to be there. Yeah, because he comes in. If you remember the movie, he comes in and he goes, "I got this idea. It's the box," and he shows him the box. He goes, "But I need capital." He goes, and you know how to get it for me, basically, in so many words, and that is by committing crimes. And there is more stuff that's cut out of the movie where script is right, and maybe this would have helped, is Edwards being taught by the Two-Face how to be a villain. Like, because they even have that one scene in there. There was more to that than the one scene where he's like, show me how to throw a punch. Because there's like this whole thing where he's basically teaching him how to be a bad guy.
Yeah. If there's a better cut on the floor, I do want to see it.
From what I can tell, I mean, most of those deleted scenes are on the DVD. If you have the DVD or the Blu-ray, you can see the scenes. They're there. They're just not finished. And it's just extensions a little bit more. If there's more that's gone on the cutting room floor that didn't even make it into those, I don't know about and I haven't seen it yet. But as far as my understanding from what I had heard coming back off that screening that Kevin Smith did, that's what he showed. It was a fan cut where somebody basically took the movie and just cut in those scenes from the deleted scenes. So unless they found some other footage somewhere, maybe in a TV version or something I didn't know about, or other people have dug up somehow somewhere, and I don't know how it's that much different. That's basically the comic book version. Because if you've read the comic book adaptation, that's basically the movie before it got cut down.
Yeah.
Maybe that is a thing that just wasn't in the script at all.
That's what I'm wondering, if it got lost in the translation throughout. Yeah.
I always felt like at the end you have both of them on the screen there, and when Two-Face does drop down, but I always felt like they were kind of there for separate reasons. I never felt like they were really established.
That's just it. Yeah, because Two-Face is more there for Robin's story, right? Because originally it was supposed to be Joker, then it was going to be, I think, Penguin in the second film that killed his parents. And it's always this whole thing where, that was the whole storyline that was supposed to be in there is, Batman learning through Robin that you can't chase your demons or you'll be chasing them forever. And, killing the killer of your parents is not going to make it all better. And that's one way they were trying, because I can't remember, was one of the writers was saying that was kind of their way of trying to fix the whole bullshit in the first movie. With the Joker killing Batman's parents to begin with.
Yeah. Oh, God. I hate that.
That was kind of his way out of it, saying, yeah, I know that they fucked up with that, but this is our way of
Well, we didn't realize we
with
were
it or
making a
whatever.
second or third movie. I mean, that was true. Warner Brothers had no idea they were going to do a
But they were
sequel
also trying to
until-
cope with that idea too, though. So yeah.
Until mere like, I think until the first few hours of the ticket returns came in on that Friday, they're like, oh crap, we better make a second one.
Well, I'm sure they always thought about it, but with that kind of a thing, like, because was it
Well, at that time, the studios were
Sam Hamm, or who was it that wrote the first one that
So
said
Sam Hamm wrote
wasn't
the first
his.
one, and he did not make Joker the killer.
Yes, he said that was
Bruce Wayne.
brought in after the fact, and that I think was at Tim Burton's request or something like that.
It was at Tim Burton's request because at the time, and this is something that John Peters said is like, listen, we're going to do this and then we're done. Like, because that's what he said. Like, we're doing this and we're done. So Tim Burton had it in his mind that, even though I've been signed to a multi-picture deal for something like this, it doesn't look, this is the only movie we're really going to get. And those other pictures are going to be something else with Warner Brothers. And then what ends up happening? Well, Burton coordinates with Danny Elfman to do a secondary score that's not just Prince music, which peaks up Peters. And then it also makes waves at Warner Brothers. And then when they start seeing the rushes and how those are looking, then they're like, oh, well, maybe this might go the distance. We might be able to do like a Superman thing here. And they held off on it as long as they could until those first ticket returns for Friday night back in '89. And they're just like, we're doing a sequel. We have to. This is huge. Like it's Batmania. It's hit. It wasn't a fad. It wasn't a one-time thing. And then the fact that with every passing day, the box office just grew and grew and grew. Little did they know, they're like, yep, Tim, go right. Give us
I've
another
heard
one.
similar stories to that, but I thought it had more to do with just killing the Joker than a sequel. Because I thought a sequel was always kind of in the cards, kind of, sort of, as a possibility.
It's one of those hollow promises that studios were doing in the 80s. I mean, now
because that's where initially I remember hearing about that, because Burton was talking about when they pushed Robin out of the story. He said that, at that time they kind of had an idea that, if we do a sequel, then we'll worry about it. Because then he said during the second one is like, well, we're not going to get to it in this one. We'll do it in the next one. Because like he said, that's kind of the way the mantra was. Yeah.
Well, as soon as they did the second one, they knew they were going to do a third.
Well, right, exactly.
Yeah.
So
But
I get
one,
that.
They cut out the very thing that caused Sean Young to break her arm. They cut that scene out, which is basically the introduction of Dick Grayson in that.
Yeah.
Whole thing. So,
but the thing is like I'm learning more from history of it all is that this is kind of the first time, and I've been trying to figure out a video with Godzilla, because how viral marketing, like Batman was like one of the first times you had viral marketing because the studio actually pushed it. And I'm learning more about that now than I did then. Like they pushed it out there, getting people talking about it. Could even have been just testing the waters just to see if people are even interested in Batman, because that's kind of the way they present it in quotations. But I say that's the first time they're really starting to get people to talk again about it. Because then that was also the same time Nick at Night started showing the reruns of Batman on TV too. And so there was this whole kind of like fever pitch leading up to Batman for like a year or two beforehand. And then all of a sudden we started finding out and hearing more about this Batman movie, and everything kind of led up to it. And then that summer, by the time that dropped, you had reached this point where, like I said, you couldn't turn anywhere without seeing the fucking bat signal everywhere. Right? It was everywhere. And people were buying Batman shit left and right. Like my cousins who were like in their 20s and stuff were like, this is the first time I ever saw this. I was like, you like Batman? He's like, hell yeah, and shit like that. And my uncles and stuff, like everybody was into this. And it was just like the weirdest thing I'd ever seen in my life. I'd never seen anything like that because I wasn't alive to remember the first Star Wars. I vaguely remember Return of the Jedi, right? But like outside of Batman, the closest thing I remember to Batman was probably either Top Gun or maybe Roger Rabbit. But Roger Rabbit in a different way than Top Gun. Top Gun was one of those things where it was like everybody was either wearing a Top Gun shirt, or my cousins were talking about going to see Top Gun again, and all that kind of shit. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I've seen it 5 times in the theater. How many times do you see it? That kind of shit. Like that was the only time I really remember that kind of thing up until, I mean, plenty since then, but like up to that point as a child, I'm trying to remember my 80s. And now, Clobby, you were a little older at that time, so you probably remember the Bat Fever a little bit more than I do. But
well, I was smack middle of it. I had my comic shop, and it was rolling in. I was selling Batman shirts out the bundle, and they were putting out a lot of good comics and stuff. Starting to reprint some of the good stuff. It was gigantic.
People are bringing up E.T. again. I was too young for E.T., but I remember E.T. as being young. But yeah.
Oh yeah.
But like a phenomenon like that. That was the first experience I ever had with that. Yeah.
The Batman one was a huge wah, as Nick likes to say. Gigantic.
Huge.
You couldn't be near a comic shop around the points the months building up.
I was like, I swear that's all anybody said in the summer of '89 was Batman. Yeah, Batman. Batman. Yeah, Batman. Well, Batman.
Actually, but the summer before was the one where we were all saying Batman. No, we're saying that. We're saying Michael Keaton.
Yeah, I know, right? Everybody's like, but that's why they rushed out that fucking trailer, man. And it's one of the worst trailers ever, but it did the trick.
Michael Keaton? We were also saying stuff like Roger Rabbit. Oh, wow, that was great. But what's this Michael Keaton business? So
do you remember seeing the trailer for the first time, Clobby?
Oh, yeah. Well, there were some trailers we saw. I remember, as a matter of fact, I believe Entertainment Tonight released This was unheard of back then. It was like pre-trailer or what? It was a trailer. You got
Teaser thing,
yeah. We all
Yeah.
we recorded it and they played it over and over again on my big TV at the comic shop. When we saw that one trailer, we were like, whoa.
That trailer, like
'Cause-
videos of it, were selling for like $10-$20 at like Comic Cons and stuff, I guess. Just the trailer.
Yeah. Well, a few months previous to it, Starlog magazine had him in all of his weird, that suit glory up in front of the Batmobile. And it took a little getting used to after seeing that. I'm like, I don't know that costume.
I know what you're
All
talking
black. I don't like black costume on Batman. But the trailer managed to use lighting and everything so they can make it not look so bad. There's some great fight scenes and I'm Batman and all that stuff. The trailer that was about a couple of months early really got everybody pumped up.
That's nice, Tom.
Is that the image they had? If I remember right.
Yeah, that's it on Starlog magazine.
Yep.
Right in front of the Batmobile.
This is a vintage '89 poster, by the way.
Nice. We were going nuts. Everybody was good. The good thing about that, we were buying the shirts I was selling because it wasn't the same. There was nothing to base it on from movies. They were all comic book art shirts, different comic book iterations from, with great artists and stuff from Batman. So everybody started wearing Batman shirts.
Oh, and I love that outfit. I mean, I knew it wasn't like the comics, but that bat symbol and stuff, man. Oh, it just popped for me, man. It was like, I don't know. I love that Batmobile. I love the theme. I love the original costume. Everything about it. It's like if I have to pick one, somebody goes, pick your favorite like Batman costume and all that business and all that shit. It's always that one.
Okay.
I do love the Batmobile, and in the early 2000s, when I got the honor to drive one of the replicas that my dad's friend did, that was awesome.
Wow.
I got to drive it. He sat next to me. He let me go as fast as I could on the track that he owned, and that thing could lift off the ground.
Oh, it probably drove better than the original, considering the original was lucky to make it 20 feet sometimes, it sounded like.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this one he had worked on for, I think, 6 years to make it.
Yeah.
And it was very authentic to everything that you could see in the film. It didn't have any of the gadgets, obviously.
Right.
But, it did have the canopy that slid open. That was really cool. So you got to hop into it properly. It didn't have any windshield wipers on it. That was... It just didn't work because I guess the way the canopy is, it's like it disconnected, right? There's nothing.
There's a great story out there about the guy who won the Batmobile from MTV and that whole
and then being the real one.
Well, the thing was, we found out he was, the one that was, okay, what it was is somebody found a Batmobile that was just out in the middle of the woods or whatever, and they found out who owned it. It was this guy who won it in a contest. And what happened is Warner Brothers gave it to MTV to give away in a contest. But the whole catch of the contest was they wanted you to sign a contract after you won it, that they would just give you $25,000 after you took a bunch of pictures with the Batmobile, buying the Batmobile back from you. But he didn't want to sell the Batmobile back. And they're like, well, we need it. And I guess I think he even tried offering like 50, but he got it in his head that he was going to sell it for a hell of a lot more than that, which he could have, but he didn't read the fine print at the time. Fine print, of course, said that he couldn't sell it to anybody but Warner Brothers. So they were at a stalemate, and I guess, I don't know if it went to court or what happened at some point, but like this guy who found it went and tracked this whole story down, but that's what it boiled down to. So the guy got stuck with the Batmobile and he let it rot out in the back of his fucking house, I guess. But like, yes, because he couldn't do anything with it. And legally, and so eventually they found it and they fixed it back up. But like that was the whole game, was he wasn't supposed to keep it. It's like, why the fuck would you even do that then? It's like, fuck that, I'm keeping the Batmobile. Like, I'll give you $50,000. Fuck you, $100,000. Nope. I got a Batmobile. There ain't no check. You're gonna write me this unless it's gonna build me a whole brand new Batmobile that's exactly like this.
It's like you can't even put a boot on the Batmobile the way it was designed. That's the other part too.
That's the other thing, is it didn't really well, and it was not like they used a chassis of another. I think it was a Corvette. I think
Corvette chassis.
Yeah,
and a whole bunch of parts from other cars.
Yeah, and like I said, it barely ran. Like they could get it to barely run through like a shot half the time. And sometimes they're literally just having a bunch of grips off camera push the bastard in the shot because it don't run half the time. But like, I guess the main sequence that they have in the movie is the few times they actually got it to run, from what I remember hearing about, because it was just not built for what they needed it for. Because didn't they also get halfway through it and they realized, fuck, we don't have no doors?
Well, no, when they finished the initial construction of it, they realized, how do they get in there? Because
Yeah.
they built a few Batmobiles. They built a hero Batmobile, which did most of the driving, and then they did all the ones for the stationary stuff. And what was really funny is that after at some point in the midst of production, they had to actually outfit an engine for one of the other Batmobiles because they needed it.
Yeah.
And so
Well, they got the idea for the cockpit thing, but yeah.
So they had it. So, and then what ended up happening at the end is that they ended up making a number of the Batmobiles that were all used in the film. And one of them went on tour across 89, 90, and 91 to a whole bunch of exhibitions and parks and stuff that you could get your photos
Six
taken
Flags and all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a photo somewhere of me and my dad next to the Batmobile used in the film. You could sit inside it and all that stuff. And then that's kind of what got me to be able to drive the replica that was, a decade or so later, is because someone my dad knew who rents cars, classic cars to film studios, built this on his own, and he was just like, yeah, here for your birthday, you can get to drive it for.
You bet your ass I would have drove that fucking Batmobile grocery shopping and everything too.
Yeah, like there's no trunk in it. So you'd be like, okay, everything goes in the
side seat. I don't care. I'd have drove that bitch everywhere.
Yep.
Action
Parking would have
comment.
been weird though.
Yeah, that would have been awkward and hard. Sends in $10 and says, "What's the weirdest Hollywood contract stipulations you ever heard of? Shatner and Nimoy had favorite son clauses. Sean Connery contract required James Bond producer to be off the set." Strangest ones. Let me think. That actually made it in their clauses, in their contracts. That's tough. Like, I mean, I guess the funniest one I can think of is when Warner Brothers had Nolan be a producer on Man of Steel, just for the sole reason of being able to put his name on the trailer and have him run interference with John Peters. That's kind of hilarious. Gosh, can you guys think of anything offhand? I'm trying to think
of crazy stuff.
Yeah,
because all actors have their own sort of thing,
but nothing like.
Some actors have like a no eye contact clause for anyone that's below the line, which is stupid.
See, I don't know who, but that'd be interesting. Because, like, okay, what he's asking this for, I guess, is probably, correct me if I'm wrong, Action Con, but I'm assuming you're asking because, like, like the Rolling Stones and certain other bands, supposedly, and their writers have all these crazy demands. Well, we come to find out years later, the reason they have those crazy demands is so they make sure they read the fucking writers, because they've had incidences where people have almost died because they didn't follow certain regulations and rules and things that they needed to be done for their pyrotechnics or electrical settings and all that kind of,
or anything of the show. And if they saw the little stupid stuff, they knew that they read everything and they did it.
Exactly. And because a lot of those times these guys would go up and they'd start, because even simple things like doing, like, if you put like I've learned this the hard way too, a metal microphone stand with a microphone on top of cement and it's not grounded correctly, you will zap yourself.
Yep.
And this is stuff that they've run into at certain places, because a lot of times what they'll do with these arenas, what they are is they're basically ice skating rinks that they melt the ice away, and then so there's solid cement fucking floors and shit and all that kind of stuff. And then sometimes if they have like a stage setting there, it's also made out of cement, and if they're not padded correctly and all that, it's fucked up. So they got to make sure the shit's done right, and also have enough room and everything for their pyrotechnics, because that's how people died during that one show. Wasn't it Motley Crue? If I'm not mistaken, Nick, was it that Motley Crue show where a bunch of people got killed because of the pyrotechnics? Because they didn't have a high enough ceiling and they didn't check it right?
Oh, the indoor pyrotechnics.
Don't know, but maybe. I mean,
if it wasn't Motley Crue, would
talking
it be
about
I don't know.
I think
it was
Motley
like a small
Crue.
independent band, wasn't it?
I thought that was Motley Crue.
Oh, I talking about the roof that fell off a few months ago?
No, this was a while back, but I didn't know
like
that.
25 years, 30 years ago.
You're talking about the bar, like the small bar venue?
Yeah, because it was when they weren't so famous anymore. Oh, it was Great
White.
They're saying
it was a
in
smaller
Great
band,
White.
like an unknown band.
Great White is what they're saying, yeah. Or White Snake. Now we got Great White and White Snake. Which one?
Yeah, which one it is?
No.
Which one? Because one has more hits.
What is it?
No, it doesn't matter. Either way, it was a tragedy, and it's just because of stupidity of people not paying attention to certain little things. But as far as movies go, I'm sure Brando had some weird fucking shit in his contracts, just because he could.
I know Harvey Keitel always had an assistant to separate his Coke lines in his trailer. I don't know if that was in the contract.
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah,
I
I mean,
have it ready when he was going.
I mean, especially if you get at this big level, at like a Tom Cruise level or some of these other guys, I got to imagine you got some crazy, wacky shit. Like, I mean, come on, they're even making fun of the whole TiVo thing in like Tropic Thunder, so it's got to come from somewhere, right? Like, because I mean, that whole movie is written on Ben Stiller's experience making movies and just the absurdity of Hollywood. So.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, the people that he's worked with, I got to imagine that's either like Charlie Sheen or,
There'd be a whole lot of lines with that.
Yeah. Because, that's what Tropic Thunder is mostly based on, is his experience shooting Platoon and stuff like that. So, I wonder if Tom Cruise had some weird ones back in the day.
I'm sure
he's lightened up, it seems now.
Between 99 through like 08, I would not have put it past him. Don't get me wrong. There's some movies he put at that time that I loved, like Collateral, but that was at that point in time where he was jumping on the couch on shitty Oprah and talking about how women smell amazing.
He needed to fix his image,
He needed to really fix his image. It shunned me for a long time from watching his movies.
But no, as far as like a producer being thrown off it usually happens during production at some point. And the one that most famous that I can think of would probably be the Superman one with Richard Donner, where he said he did not want to see Selkine back on the set because they got into a fight. Or no, it was Pierre Spangler he got into a fight with, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Or who was it?
Well, that's a.
It was the other guy. It wasn't the Selkines. It was one of the other guy that produces with them. Isn't that Spangler? Might
have been.
I think so.
I do not know.
I think
he got into it with him, and like they even got into almost a fist fight, I guess, from whatever. But that's because he's like, cut it out, cut it out, cut it out, cut it out. We don't need it, cut it out. He's like, do you want me to make this fucking movie or not? Like sooner or later we're gonna need some scenes to put in the fucking movie, kind of thing, because they're trying to cut costs there, and they were trying to get the first movie done, and But I think I'm pretty sure it was Pierre Spangler.
I think so.
Yeah. Didn't he? I've heard a story once where I think he choked him. Shit like that.
With the salt kinds, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. It got pretty bad from what I had heard. So, like, it got so bad that basically Margot Kidder, if she could have got out of her contract, she would have at that point. That's the only reason she's in part 3 for 2 minutes.
Those guys were crooks. They ran.
Yeah. Because that was all because she had to be contractually and she didn't want to be there.
Yeah. Celebrities are weird.
Mm-hmm.
Even the good ones.
Yeah, Nikki D says, are there any updates on the WGA and SAG after strikes? Has there been any meaningful progress? I don't know. Script, has there been? I mean, you said earlier a little bit about it, but any updates? Or did Script have to step away? Oh, he said be right back. My bad.
All right.
I will come back to that one in a minute when Script gets back here, but
he will come, guys. He will.
While we're waiting for Script, Klobby, do you have anything you want to plug? Because we're getting out of here soon.
In about a little half hour, I'll be doing a member stream. But other than that, just the usual stuff this week: Wednesday nights and Thursday nights, and hanging out with you guys, and Friday night hanging out with a couple different comics. Are we doing one this week, by the way, Nick?
We are not, but we'll be back next week.
I'll be on with J-Man covering Kirby's Fourth Worlds Friday night though as well. The Clubhouse with Mark and Raquel on Thursday night, and of course tomorrow night my usual open geek stuff, and then Thursday night started Saturday night Star Trek, all 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. But tonight at 8:30, it's going to be the member stream, so please come and hang out with me. thank you for having me, by the way.
Well, we love to have you here. Well, I know what Nick's up to in a little bit.
Oh yeah. Oh
We're
yeah.
gonna get our turtle on.
We in a half hour are gonna have some serious turtle power. Talk about one of the greatest movies of all time for the 100th episode Toxic Tuesday. Guys, the 100th episode only happens once. And a lot of you in the chat are very familiar with Toxic Tuesday, and I thank you for that. If you haven't shown up before, I think tonight is a great place to start. We're gonna have a lot of fun, and I hope all of you eat a lot of pizza. And I'm excited to talk about this movie, especially from the comic book perspective and also the nostalgia perspective. This movie covers so many aspects of my life, all wrapped in one little flick.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's gonna be awesome. So come check us out. That's in 35 minutes, folks. It's gonna be the hugest that ever huge.
Like a large pizza. Script, what do you got coming up? Nothing. He still ain't back yet. CC, what you got coming up?
Other than pizza, because it was 50% off at this Walmart, and I've bought a whole bunch of it. This particular Friday, we got something of a special karaoke. It's a community block party karaoke, so there's going to be 8 channels multi-streaming. On the one hand, that means a gigantic rotation, so it won't be the normal event. On the other hand, it means you're going to hear a lot of people you haven't heard before, and there'll be a whole lot more people in the audience. So that'll be 5 p.m. to 11 p.m. Pacific time this Friday. And then, future Fridays, we'll get back to the usual thing. But definitely, it'll be a lot of fun this Friday. So come on and hang out.
Awesome. Well, I'll love to participate, but if I'm not a participant, I'll definitely
Oh, you're totally invited.
Say hi. Well, I figured
100%.
I didn't want to invite myself.
It'll be a gigantic rotation. So
right. I'll get maybe 1 or 2 songs in, is what you're saying. Yeah.
Pretty much. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Script, are you back yet?
Nope, he's still not back.
Well, pretty much from what I know, everything's still being discussed. I know the studios are going to get to the point sooner or later where they're going to have to do something. Now the writers, they're approaching that point where it's going to get pretty ugly pretty soon. The actors, on the other hand, I have a feeling it'll be a little easier to figure something out with the actors than it probably will be the writers, because the writers have always been treated like shit, and then on the other hand, the writers also want some few wacky demands too. So with like the writers' room sizes and all that stuff. So we'll see how this goes here. I have not heard anything personally outside of what we talked about earlier. Script gave us a little bit of an update. But
Script is back.
Oh, he is back. Perfect timing.
Yes. We're just waiting for the AMPTP to schedule a return back to the table. The ball's in their court. So when they come back, we'll see what happens.
So there you go. That's where they're at. They're waiting again to talk some more and play some more politics bowl over this stuff. So we'll have to wait and see how it goes. So Nikki D, thank you for the 5. And with that, Script, you're the only one left to have to plug anything. Do you have anything before you go you want to plug?
Just check out my channel where I interviewed Tom Conkle for 90 minutes about Island in the Stars, his independent feature that he's trying to get the startup costs taken care of so that he can basically secure some talent and some financing so that he can get this really fantastic, fun, adventurous science fiction film made for you guys to go see.
Island in the Stars.
Yep.
In the deepness of space, there's an island in the stars.
In a world
Where
they say
where
that
worlds don't exist.
That was good.
I always loved it, man. In a world where worlds don't exist and time isn't the same as everywhere else, nothing will ever be the same.
Until the next sequel where everything is back to being the same.
I miss Trailer Guy. Because now they don't have Trailer Guy no more. You ever notice that?
He's not. He's definitely not.
No Trailer Guy no more. I should do a bunch of modern trailers with Trailer Guy and see how they play.
Yeah, dude. That's an idea. He thought he could
spend one night at Freddy's. He was wrong. Friday was a bad night to pick.
They said it was called The Never Ending Story, but it was only under 2 hours. Was this a lie?
I tried suing him. Action Com says, can we play Midnight's Edge number 450, Jose Canseco chapter? It's
Jose
hilarious.
Canseco Bat.
Tell me, you
Yeah.
didn't pay money for this. Ooh, a cigarette.
I paid it for the roids.
Can we play the Midnight's Edge number 450? What do you mean play the number 450? I'm missing the... I mean, I know the connection with Jose Canseco.
Episode 450.
Go ahead and watch it if you want. I'm not going to play the whole thing here. Okay. Jose Canseco chapter.
Jose Canseco was on there with you?
No, I don't know. Maybe we talked about something there. Okay, maybe I think I know what he's saying here. Let me bring it up. Okay. Midnight's Edge. Number 450.
Sorry, I got it. God damn it.
You should be upset.
I feel the pain, Clubby. I feel your pain.
Where did Andre
Well, the
move
thing's
it
not
to?
supposed to go off when the whole phone's muted. Piece of crap.
Shite happens, my guy. Shite happens.
To me.
Yes.
There's 100 through 400.
Digging through the weeds.
He's digging through the archives.
I am.
Yeah, archives.
I gotta see here. Okay, here we go. 450, 450, 445.
The fact you remember exactly what you're looking for.
He
within
does
that
this
episode,
shit. So
I mean, it must be something if you can remember it.
I doubt he was a guest. Unless you guys start talking about sports ball.
I just
what,
remember
does
that.
Andre
Simpsons
not have it
episode.
in here? What the hell? I don't think he has it.
Daryl
In.
Strawberry.
He goes up to 445. Seriously?
It's an odd number to stop at.
He probably just hasn't updated it. Clips. And does he have the actual? There's 415. 14. Have we done 450?
Yeah, it was only it was Monday. I say it's the show. I think.
Did we talk about Jose Canseco on Monday?
Someone super chatted it.
I'm not see. I don't think he's got Mondays up here yet.
I don't think so. I'm not seeing it on my end either.
Yeah, I can't find it right
If
now.
it was that recent, it's probably not.
Oh, darn it. Yeah, he's also not in the best of place to be able to do this, keep up with all this stuff all the time either right now. So let me see if it's on our main channel still, but I think he probably hasn't moved it over yet.
Can we play? But when it gets up there, you can start to play it whenever you want.
No, he doesn't have it up here, so I don't know how to get to it without a link. Sorry about that, ActionCom. Unless you can send it to me. You still have the link. I can't believe you remembered that, though. Yeah, that's crazy. I can't remember what I had for fucking breakfast. But all right, we got to get rolling here. So take care of yourselves. Hit me back with that, ActionCom. Sorry about that.
Mr. Chickle Trunk says he's getting the link.
All right.
And Script has to go.
Okay, here we go.
I got you, Script.
Go
Thanks,
ahead
guys.
and head out, Script.
Gotta head out, but have a great show. I'll see you all later.
All right, Script. Take care, man.
All right, I got it here now. After all that, I finally got it. Because I'm incompetent and I needed help. It's so true.
No.
Speaking of
Stop
bat,
it. Stop it.
the Jose
Conseco butt.
bat, and that you paid.
Four
Some-
for one
you-
sale.
It-
You
it was-
understand that one? Do you understand that reference?
I imagine it's probably some kind of baseball player or something like that. I can assure you that the baseball.
Oh
we
my
have in
God, I
Norway
wish
are
I was
not
there.
Jose Conseco is something we made in like.
No, he
in,
was-
like,
they were-
wood
I'm
shop or
They were
cringing.
found
so,
to
yeah.
be juiced.
A little bit.
Oh,
And it's also
Finally,
There it is.
script.
There it is. It was on the tip of my tongue. I'm like, why does that sound so familiar? Yeah, Jose Canseco bat.
Tell me you didn't pay money for
Ralph with
this.
that.
Wow, the show that you were not there for, and that
and,
reference comes up.
then getting us into the first topic here, Marksman of.
All right. Thank you for that, Action Com, and thank you, Mr. Trickle Trunk and Action Com. I think it was who also sent it to me, or somebody did here. But thank you so much, everybody, for the show. And that would be it. All right. Night, guys. Love you.
Good night, everybody.
And
Take care.
I also.
I like turtles.
Yeah,
See you
let's-
Toxic Tuesday, 25 minutes.
yeah, this should lead you over there.
Come hang out.